It should be noted that currently we use computer-synthesized voices for the main cast.
We plan to replace them with real voice work at some point in the near future.
If you don't like these voices, you can disable them now or at any time in the sound options menu.
Element 126, Resin, Res. It was the answer to everything. A transmutable element with the power to unlock the secrets of the universe. It gifted humanity everything there was to know about space-time, and how to enslave it. Res triggered an explosion of technological advancement. Mankind spread to the far reaches of the galaxy, growing exponentially in numbers, along with the reliance on Res. The United Terran Alliance was founded to control the countless population. Eventually they sought to ration the use of Res. As Res supplies thinned, conflict arose. An epidemic of fortune-seeking miners forced their way to the galactic core, where resin was most abundant. Eventually the primary Res source was discovered. All Res stemmed from a sinister and timeless energy being. A being awakened by the use of Res. They had sprung an ancient and recursive trap, Res being the bait no budding civilization could possibly ignore. Corruption spilled outward into the stars, twisting the biological matrix of all it touched, integrating it into machines. Mankind's own technology, their own dead, had begun to turn against them. For years they struggled to survive against a flood of abominated metal and flesh. Billions were lost to the infection, only further feeding the expanding corruption. In spite of hopeless obliteration, the very fabric of life itself arose to fight the dark entity. As a race, humanity came together for a single purpose. In some twisted way, they had found peace. Peace, however, does not last. People fell back into their self-minded ways. Humanity turned inward in a scramble for the remaining Res, which now could no longer be renewed. As the UTA lost its control over the galaxy, they collapsed the entire Warp 8 network, beyond any hope of salvage. Human ingenuity, it turns out, knows no captivity. Out of need, a resin-based drive was developed, allowing more direct travel anywhere in the galaxy. The Void was reborn as the wild, untapped, and lawless frontier. As years pass, piracy and skirmish battles rage, precious Res the prize. Raw worlds are recklessly colonized and disputed by legions of makeshift starships. An entire ecology of nomadic drifters emerged, endlessly recycling the wrecks of constant war. All the while, the nearly forgotten saviors of the galaxy tirelessly struggled to exterminate the last remnants of the infection.
Sigh. It seems like it again. You dimwits have flown my ship headlong into an infested region. That is the third time this week. 6 million forms of communication, and I'm yet to find one that can articulate how moronic you fools are. Computer, power up the weapons and shield emitters. The doctor is in.
Target locked. Obliterated. Target locked. Obliterating. Engaging. Super kill. Mega kill. Engaging. Ultra kill. Game over.
By the void. Level 13 is truly the bane of my existence.
Carl, seriously? Do you realize crew members suffocated on the lower decks because you routed power from life support to play stupid video games?
Silence, imbecile. They gave their lives for the greater good. A scientific mind must stay active, or it would wither and wrinkle. I'll boil any ocean. I'll irradiate a whole litter of Nerlachian pups. I'll divide by 0 if I have to.
I told you he would cause trouble if you leave him to his own whim. Those implants can really make a man sick in the melon. Elsa, he's a liability if we keep him on board.
Please refrain from sneaking up on another living creature like that. Do you not realize the horror people have to endure every time they look at your face? You are fortunate I did not inadvertently dismember you in a panic-induced frenzy.
Everyone, shut up. To the bridge right now. Anyone not here in 30 seconds is getting vented into space. Well, I'm glad to see everyone was able to get up at the crack of noon to work towards sustaining our survival. Let me present to you all the garbage dump we'll be sifting through this afternoon. Yes, most of this is useless junk. Yes, this is utterly pathetic, but what choice do we have?
This ain't no way to treat these here metal mother. The ladies deserves better. Let me be snapping on something fresh.
He might not be the best candidate to operate the tractor prototype. Keep in mind that Carl built this thing, so it goes without saying that it's dangerous. I would hate to have come all this way just to have Mackenzie rip us apart like a rabbit chimp with Carl's untested toys. You know how those two can be.
I don't really care who does what, but we need to jump on this opportunity to expand the mothership. That core module will give us some elbow room, while those wings will give us some much-needed firepower. Let's get those modules fitted so we don't have to listen to each other breathe anymore.
Please pay close attention to
What exactly do you think you're doing? Stop leaning on the overhead projection like a crutch. This isn't some archaic top-down space shooter we're playing here. This is real, brutal, killing-eating life we are talking about. Join the rest of us down here in reality.
Our omnilithium capacitor is now tapped out. I've devised a method to simply eject the spent cell, while fabricating a new one out of surrounding space dust. Do not ask me how it works, or why it makes sense. All that you need to know is that you will be unable to fire the ship's weapons while the new cell is being installed.
All right, I'm bringing the weapons online, if that is indeed what you want to call this garbage. Let's blast open some of these containers. Maybe we can find something to eat that won't make our hair fall out.
I have decided that it would be best if basic resource towing was left up to the ship's computer. These items are too fragile to be handled by Neanderthals. It brought me great pain to watch you struggle with the tractor beam.
Target locked. Obliterated. Engaging. Please assimilate and perform. All modern space-capable engines.
I have to say I'm impressed. You were all able to lace this thing back together without eating each other. The only thing that remains is to test the res drive. Mackenzie, start the pre-flight procedure.
From scotch and caviar, to beers and tears. How is it that Jameson is the only other one with ambition to dig out of this dung heap? Just cook those bloody engines up and lay in a course for somewhere that isn't here. Please.
Welcome to the Super Ultra. Game saved. Added to cargo.
Apparently your intestines are so...
Cargo acquired. Area exhausted. Pillaging successful. Cargo acquired.
We may have a galaxy-wide short.
Target locked. Obliterating. Priority designated. Disengaging. Engaging. Shields offline. Obliterating. Extracted.
All right, we're mobile. If you are all thoroughly satisfied, we can finally get on with it. We still have stickers out there, not to mention a laundry list of equipment we need before we can do anything about them. Time is of the essence, and we've wasted so much of it already.
As anxious as I am to find a so-called sticky, we have not encountered one for many cycles. The ship does not yet have a nacelle to stand on, therefore we need to scout more easy opportunities to exploit.
Pillaging successful.
If we tune our warp frequency just right, we can sometimes pick up residual data transmissions bouncing around the old warp network. Though the gates are smashed beyond repair, some seem to be able to hang on to these low-density data packets, like a ghostly reminder of our past.
Several mining outposts were abandoned by the UTA during the Dark Infection. Without adequate protection, many bases were raided and destroyed, while others were to defend themselves. The few bases that were able to maintain a supply of res, cooperated to keep it, and defended from other factions. Resource acquired. Cargo acquired. Signal detected. After the warp gate collapse, many scientific minds stepped forward to resolve the galactic transportation crisis. While the res drive became the primary method for travel, a second warp gate network was also under heavy construction. These new warp gates were smaller and more efficient, being derived from the alien technology discovered at the galaxy core. Trillions of these new warp gates were deployed using a gateless warp slipstream device, scattering them randomly across the galaxy. It wasn't until the network was nearly completed did their critical flaw become apparent. The quantum-entangled compounds of the new gates began to interfere with each other, even across the span of light years. The more gates, the more the problem compounded itself. This interference caused the warp jumps to exit randomly within a short distance of the gate's location, rendering the gates useless for practical use. The company abandoned the new gate project, leaving the failed gates still somewhat active. The slipstream device, however, became the prototype for the res drive all starships use today. One advantage the failed gates retain even now is the speed in which the warp field can be instantiated. Ships have been known to utilize the random slipstream jumps as a method to attacking ships, rather than risk splitting up the res drive.
Okay, I'm calling it. We need to shift our focus back to more pressing needs. Everyone on board is expected to understand that the mothership takes priority over everything, including our very lives. To that effect, Mother needs to be fed. If we can't find what she needs, we die along with her. If we cannot trade for what we need, we'll have to take it by force. As cruel as it is, that's just life.
I see fit to enlighten everyone that every action on board consumes something. Don't let these critical supplies run dry.
as much as I do.
Map updated. Added to cargo. It is impossible to say for sure where the dark entity came from. Some believe it existed before time itself. Others believe it is responsible for maintaining the precarious cosmological constant through its will alone. Regardless, it is now known that the resource res stems entirely from this creature. While the entity cannot normally be physically observed, it does have a direct effect on the universe around it, flooding space with res. The function of res serves to attract technologically advanced species toward the creature, where they then can be corrupted by the dark infection. Signal detected. When humanity began colonization of the cosmos, a central government feebly attempted to maintain order across the countless worlds. As expansion continued, central government was unable to enforce any laws. Interplanetary diseases ran amok. Worlds became savage as they realized they lived in a lawless state. Nearby worlds began raiding each other for resources without any fear of legal recourse. The Unitarian Alliance was founded to bring the dissident worlds into the fold and halt the interplanetary pandemics. Where a democratic government failed, a military one would succeed it. The first stage was isolation. The warp gates were temporarily shut down and encoded with access keys only the UTA controlled. This kept worlds from attacking each other, while the UTA systematically set up individual government cells on each world.
Behold, my happy place. There is research data that has not yet been allocated. Consider not allocating it, and instead allocate it.
Scanning area. Once Earth's neon green oceans burned brighter than the visible sun, humanity collectively decided it was time to find a new home. Pushing the very limits of science, mankind molested the fabric of space-time to create artificial wormholes. These wormholes allowed the transportation of matter across huge distances, though required a reliable exit connection. An automated starship was sent to the nearest neighboring star Alpha Centauri to construct one such connection. Following the 250-year journey, the first warp gate was established, and humanity quickly fled the rotting Earth to the new off-world colony.
Find them good, fresh,
While I don't even trust my...
What can I help you with?
signal detected.
I sense some underdeveloped crewmen require context.
Of course we need bodies to operate and make.
Added to cargo.
Now that we have some currency to spend, we should.
For over 30 years, Jameson has served as a high-level commander of the UTA. He fought in over 200 engagements during the lockdown wars, 3 of which were successful. Jameson earned a great deal of recognition after tracking the renegade Don Gibson during the breach incident. Jameson single-handedly thwarted the infectious outbreak following the breach, later earning him a Galactic Medal of Amazing. He is a prime example of a perfect human being. Alert! 5% chance of file tampering detected. Scanning area. Extracted. Area exhausted. Res, or resin, is slang for element 126, which was discovered during the colonization of the Alpha Centauri system. The substance is very unstable in its natural state. It phases in and out of the space-time continuum, making it difficult to detect. Its discovery accounted for the missing gravitational forces we previously dismissed as dark matter. Res tends to drift through solid matter, randomly coming into phase and adhering to corporeal particles. It's only during this state modern technology can observe its effects. Awareness expanded. Game saved. Resource acquired. Cargo acquired. Without the warp gates, interstellar travel was not possible. Along with the discovery of new habitable worlds, several new elements were added to the periodic table. One of these was element 126, the element now known as Res. As warp gate travel became commonplace, a massive number of gate builder ships were deployed. Over a millennium, a galactic warp gate network was established, and gate travel was an everyday occurrence. Map updated. Elsa was born and raised on Earth, which happened to be one of the last worlds to come under UTA control during the lockdown wars. Her and her father were recruited by the UTA to mine the Sol system for what little red. When her father died, she became aimless and resentful. She was befriended by Gibson, the leader of the growing UTA resistance. Saving her from starvation, She was fiercely loyal to Dawn, and became second in of the renegade fleet. Despite her troubled past, she had always managed to stay hidden and governed by strong morals. She was devastated to discover Dawn had been under the influence of infection. Enraged, she told of the clockwork and crew hunt down Dawn and destroy the dark entity. Having eventually signed that goal, she has now grown cold and nearly unrecognizable fellow crewmates. Driven aimlessly by guilt, she commands the surviving crew of the clockwork on an endless mission to cleanse the last of the infection. Scanning area. Awareness expanded. Added to cargo. Following the dark infection, a few scientists established a group dedicated to the investigation of the dark entity. They reached out to the best and brightest survivors the void had to offer. Unfortunately, they were plagued by constant bandit attacks until they enacted a minimal contact policy with other factions. Now they cling to life like the rest of the galaxy, having all but given up on the scientific endeavors it was founded upon. Signal detected. As the UTA fleet arrived at each world, they set up restricted trade access to control the consumption of the precious resource res. It took centuries to establish a planetary infrastructure on each world, leaving some isolated for years on end. As the UTA arrived at these later worlds, they were met with hostility and resentment. Each world they encountered grew more hostile than the last. A galactic resistance force fought against UTA control, destroying ships and hacking warp gates. Seeing the outer worlds as undesirable and res deficient, the UTA simply put minimal effort into controlling them. Segregated from the core worlds, the pandemics thinned the outer world population. The core worlds, on the other hand, were guarded by multiple layers of heavy security, which proved to be invaluable in slowing the corruption of the dark entity. With such strict border control, the UTA was able to hinder the dark infection, while infected worlds were nuked into oblivion. While the lockdown wars began as a pacification movement, it became a necessary quarantine to ensure the survival of the human race.
It is absolute murder to me when we have unused analytical data like this. Unless you wish to fall asleep one night and never wake up, you will make haste and allocate this data at once. Though I am completely disgusted by the idea of cooperating with others in a fashion that implies intellectual equality, it often cannot be avoided. Just try not to get extorted too severely. Though I am completely disgusted by...
In an effort to curb planetary diseases, For Gamma's sake. Why did we drop out of warp? Carl, what is wrong with my ship?
Nothing is wrong with the ship, Elsa. I've scheduled a combat drill for today. We're getting a little too soft for my liking.
Jameson, is 3 in the morning.
All of the ship's command and control systems are routed through a wireless assisted simulation. A benefit of such a system is you do not have to be physically on the ship to fly it. You can astral project your command focus to another ship, while delegating the control of the mothership to artificial intelligence. While it would make almost too much sense to allow the artificial intelligence to fly every ship, that theoretically would take all the fun out of it.
Target locked. Obliterating. Engaging. Engaging. Target locked. Obliterating. Target locked. Obliterating. Engaging.